Well, hey there, everybody. Good evening, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen around the world. It is once again time for the WADcast, episode number 62. This is the podcast that's all about writers, actors, directors, and every spot on a set in between that help bring your entertainment to life. Yeah, I'm looking at you, gaffers. Love you guys.
Yeah, the naughty boys of the film industry.
That voice you're hearing, well, I'm going to introduce myself first. I'm Josh, and that voice that you're hearing trying to seduce all of the gaffers in the world is none other than the best boy himself.
Yes, Brandonovich Jonkovic. What is up, everybody? Happy Friday. It is good to have a show again. I know that the last couple weeks have been hit or miss. I know last week our episode was relatively short as I had to go to work, but I am off tonight. And, it feels good. It feels good to be able to actually just breathe, unwind, and yeah, really does.
I wonder what that's like.
It's great when you get a chance to do absolutely nothing. It is everything you could ever think that it is. But I've had a relatively productive day today. I'm happy. So, considering the topic tonight, I actually rewatched Clerks and Clerks 2 back to back earlier today. And I gotta say, they are still really awesome movies. Clerks 1, it's not great, but it's not horrible. Clerks 2, brilliance. What about you, Joshy? What did you do today aside from work? Oh, okay. Well, Josh is having a technical issue right now. So, welcome to the Brandon Show, everybody, where we talk about all things Brandon Junk related. And if you're also named Brandon Junk, I'm going to use my one per episode and say, kindly fuck off. You're not on the show. It is Brandon Dale Junk, also known as Brandon Dale Junk. And yeah, I am running this shit. So until Josh comes back from his technical issues, I guess I'm going to have to sideswipe the small talk here and just say that, tonight we're talking about one of our idols. We're talking about the one, the only, Kevin Smith. You'll know him because I just mentioned two of his movies, Clerks and Clerks 2. He is a Jersey boy, kind of like me. I was born in Florida, but I was raised in New Jersey, not far from where he filmed the first entry in his cinematic career. And he has actually been a massive influence. Oh, Josh, welcome back to my show.
Okay.
Everyone, I'd like to introduce my special guest for the Brandon Show, Joshua Chitty. Joshua, how are you, sir?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Josh, are you here?
There we go.
Okay, you're moaning into the microphone. We can all hear you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like you're doing that thing that people do when they're pretending to listen, but they're not really listening. And then you ask them, what did I just say? And, the person responds with, a bunch of stuff about things.
Well, work is hard.
So, oh, man.
I had a bit of a technical stuff. I couldn't hear a word you said.
That's okay.
Whew. It's one of them crazy shows, eh? So what did you say? Sum it up in like 4 words.
No, I was just welcoming people to my show where we talk about everything Brandon related.
The Junk Cast, yeah.
The Junk Cast. That's actually, I gotta see if that's taken. No, I said that we were going to talk about Kevin Smith since we had to I guess, sidestep all the idle chit chat with your technical difficulties. and we are going to talk about Kevin Smith and his prolific career in cinema and his very much self-made fame. And there, you know what? There's a lot of risk that this man took. Listen, there's a no. Okay, let me rephrase it. I know Harvey Weinstein helped him get to where he is now. I get that. One of the few things I'm thankful for Harvey Weinstein for, and actually, no, let me rephrase it. Harvey Weinstein, I am thankful for a few of his contributions to the film industry because there are quite a few things that the Weinstein Company cranked out. He and his brother both. But aside from that, everything else, Harvey Weinstein. You want to talk about naughty dude? You're like just straight up going to hell. But Kevin Smith, with what he did to make Clerks happen, and for those of you who are not familiar with where Kevin Smith got his start, he's a film school dropout that was working at a convenience store called the Quick Stop in Red Bank, New Jersey.
Hold on. Do you think there are actually people that don't know how Kevin Smith got started?
Possibly. So, but I mean, and even if everyone does know, I want to pay the man, the myth, and the legend second only in my mind to the epic Stan Lee, considering all the things that this man has done for both the film industry and also for superheroes in general. Like, I mean, like his praises, like he is one of the biggest comic book fanatics right next to Stan Lee. So in that mindset, I've got to say he deserves to have a proper entry. But
Fun fact, Stan Lee never really cared for comics.
No, I know, but the thing is he really honestly, like at first he didn't, but it turned into like just like this whole thing, and he loved the creativity, and then he started really getting more and more passionate about it, and this is all he like really lived for, like by the end of his life. But going back to Kevin Smith, he was a film school dropout living in Red Bank, New Jersey, working at a convenience store. And he watched this movie from I think also from the early 90s or like the 80s, Slackers. And, he was thinking, what, I can do that. And I'm going to make a movie about something that I've not seen, which is his life in a convenience store and just him and his friends hanging out.
Mm-hmm.
That's the whole premise of Clerks. A guy that feels stuck at the crossroads of life, with jumpstarting his life or working behind as a register jockey at a convenience store. But to make this movie, Kevin Smith sold his entire comic book collection, and he maxed out a bunch of credit cards with no intention. Well, I'm saying with no idea what he was making, like how far it would take him. Let me say it that way.
Right.
He was a realist about it. He never expected it to go far. He hoped it would, but he was making it to make it. And he put himself in the movie. He originally wanted to play the role of Randall with all the cool lines, which is why Randall has all the good lines in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
But he realized that acting that much and directing and working full time, and not taking a break at all, it would be too exhausting. So he gave himself a small little bit part of Silent Bob with no lines, except for the very end of the movie.
Wasn't the idea being that, you know what, if I'm going to make this movie and it goes nowhere, I at least want to be able to point at it and say, hey, that's me.
Yep. Look what I made. That's exactly it. And so he made these two characters that have gone on to become pop culture icons, of Jay and Silent Bob. And these guys have gone in every single movie of his that was related to what he calls the Viewisk universe. All of his movies centered around around New Jersey and the little town of Red Bank. Huh?
Suck it, Marvel.
Yeah. There was a universe long before Marvel, and well, I can't really say the DCEU because no one knows what the hell the DCEU actually is. DCEU doesn't know what the hell it is. But yeah, so he made this universe, and he made these characters, Jay and Silent Bob, who have gone on to play background characters in his first three entries rather, Chasing Amy also, that's right. And then they went on to four entries, because Dogma as well. That's right, Dogma.
Mm-hmm.
And then they so you have Clerks, you have Mallrats, Chasing Amy, Dogma. You'd always see Kevin Smith playing Silent Bob next to his one of his best friends since childhood, Jason Mewes, who played Jay. But then he really got a lot of people's attention towards Jay and Silent Bob, if you didn't know who they were, when Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, he got so much more fandom added to his already existing fan base.
Mm-hmm.
And that launched those guys into the starlight with, these characters. And he's gone on to have a very successful career just based off of Clerks. It was one of the top films in the Sundance Film Festival, I believe. And so he's just hit the ground running with it. It was a phenomenon. I remember like being in New Jersey during the day that it came out, and hearing about this independent movie being made. Lo and behold, this guy I was reading about has turned into one of my favorite directors of all time. And not just favorite directors, but he's also who I strive to be, even as a person, because he is a humanitarian at his core. He's a very, very good person. He's very personable, and the proof is in the pudding just from his live videos where he's just like hiking and saying hi to people and whatever else. He's a person. He's a real person. He's a real guy. Down to earth. And so for all these reasons, and even his spin-off movies that he's done outside of his own universe, some have flopped. Some have gone on to receive relatively little attention, such as Red State, which I think is one of his best movies. So Kevin Smith, this episode is all about you, buddy. So Josh, you're just as big of a fanboy of Kevin Smith as I am, so I'll let you get everything really started outside the introduction.
Okay, so we hit a little backstory, I guess. Talked about a little bit the filming of Clerks and how that won some critical acclaim. It really wrote the check for Mallrats to be made I'm going to say an underrated movie that hopefully Kevin Smith has since stopped apologizing for making, while not perfect by any means, but it was definitely a weird sign of the times, the 90s. What do you say? Shannon Doherty. Wow.
Yeah.
But anyway,
90s Shannon Doherty. Babes. My God. She was a badass in that film, man. I'm just going to say this. When Brody walked up to her in the store, when Jason Lee walked up to her in the store and tried hitting on her and everything else, and she got violent by tugging his ear and going off on him. Now, I may have been like a young teenager when I saw this movie for the first time. I think that's when I realized I might like it rough someday.
Oh, really?
Babes. But go ahead. Sorry, Mom.
Well, it was during that time that he introduced me to someone that would become one of my favorite performers, and I don't mean Ben Affleck, even though Ben Affleck is an awesome Batman. I said it, and I'm going to keep saying it.
I will say I think Ben Affleck was probably depending on which storyline you're following. I think that the fight scenes alone were what we've been waiting for ever from Batman. Like, just like maybe not the one with Superman, because there's no way he could play that like that well, but the warehouse scene, my God. I never had a man turn me on the way Ben Affleck did in that scene.
Oh man, this is already going weird places.
Yeah, it's going to get weirder. We're talking about Kevin Smith.
The actor that I was introduced to, of course, was Jason Lee. He had become one of my favorite comic actors. Fell in love with My Name Is Earl. Absolutely. 100% love that show. And Are you in the middle of a Grand Theft Auto situation?
No, I live in an area of Southern California where people have mopeds and they they wish they knew how to ride a motorcycle, so they get like these big old exhausts on their mopeds to sound like they're driving. You ever see that South Park episode where like the bikers go through South Park and they're like doing the whole from their mouth?
Yeah, yeah.
I would not put it past a guy on a bicycle around here to have a bullhorn doing that. Or they'll have like the little Honda Civics that are like from like 1990, and there's nothing good on them. But yeah, there's nothing loud on the. There's no performance parts on the Honda Civic except for that loud ass exhaust they put on them to make it sound like they're fresh out of a Vin Diesel movie.
Yeah, I'm about every time I'm about to say something, I hear something in your background line, and I just go,
Yeah.
What is that?
Well, because it's cooler outside than it is inside the house. And I figure I'll come outside for a little bit. And every time I try to come outside, there's some loud ass idiot doing something. So that almost always inevitably forces me back into the confines of my bedroom where it's hotter than Satan's ball sack.
Yeah,
And,
that one.
It's like Satan teabagging me while I'm doing the show, like repeatedly, like on the forehead. It just doesn't stop. So, talk about naughty. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah,
it's quiet now, and I'm going inside.
Let me course correct here on myself. Just in general, those early years, we learned a lot about who Kevin Smith is, basically based on the things that he wrote. Clerks filled with Star Wars references, and for some reason at the time that was new. Not just talking about Star Wars, but apparently major pop culture references in general weren't really a thing. People talking about pop culture.
I think they might have come up in passing in certain movies, but it was never like a focal point.
Of scenes.
Oh yeah, like the scene where Randall Graves is talking to Dante about the Death Star and all the contractors and everything else, like the plumbing and electrical work and everything. Like honestly, that the whole they talked about things. He did what he set out to do with that movie. He was talking about things in this movie and bringing up topics that real people actually would talk about. Things that you don't see in movies, that you didn't see in movies at that time.
You mean nerd stuff?
Yeah. And the thing is, like back then, mind you, in the 90s, it wasn't cool to be a nerd. Like, I mean, times have changed. Now, if you're a nerd, you're like the prom king. Like, even when I was in high school in like the late 90s to like 2001, like I'll tell you right now, if I was a nerd, I'm probably going to get my ass kicked. Like,
no,
God, times have changed.
I never went to a school where we had to watch our back based on the things we'd like. And honestly, that seems a little weird looking back. But with the Star Wars references and, not even references, just straight up dialogue, straight Star Wars dialogue. And then following that up with a movie like Mallrats that is so comic book centric.
Yep.
From the opening title credits with the, custom comic book covers to his Batman costume. Stan Lee is in this movie. Yeah, you can say, again, suck it, Marvel, because someone else put Stan Lee in their universe first.
Yeah.
I don't know why I'm saying suck at Marvel all the time. I actually love Marvel movies.
Now, can we attribute? Let me ask this: Mallrats. Can we attribute Mallrats to being the birth of the idea of Blunt Man and Chronic?
Quite possibly.
Now I forget like in the opening credits where you have like that awesome rock song and you have a punk song rather. And you have like the comic book covers. Let me see this real quick. I'm going to pull up the opening of Mallrats here. But But it's like Bluntman and Chronic were nothing. They were never even thought of, because obviously Mallrats, I believe, was his second entry. So it's just like, with that being the case, here we go. Okay, pulling up Mallrats right now. The opening scene. Yes, I have Mallrats digitally on my TV. All of Kevin Smith's entries, even Dogma, it's all on my TV. Which, by the way, I'm very happy to say that I actually found my Dogma DVD. You have any idea how hard it is to find that right now and have it be the real thing?
Yes, I do.
Are you being facetious?
No, but I'm not sure what's harder to find, Dogma or Dougal.
Okay, so I'm looking at the opening credit scenes. I was mistaken. There's nothing in there about like Kevin Smith as Bluntman. I thought there was, but the birth of the pointed backwards hats, I believe, did come in that movie, possibly, because I know he had like the Batman cape kind of deal, or like the black trench coat. They opened up like Batman's cape for the what do you call it? Where he's trying to wreck the show.
Trying to pull the pin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me see.
Well, I think either way you look at it, it's probably the first inkling of Bluntman and Chronic, I think.
Yeah.
Because after all, that's something that gets played out in the next movie, where Chasing Amy, Jason Lee comes back, but he's playing a different character. Ben Affleck comes back, but he's playing a different character.
He's playing a douchebag.
Yeah. That who do you think's a bigger douchebag, Shannon or Holden?
Holden, easily. Well, see, mind you, like if we're talking about Chasing Amy here.
Yeah.
Holden, easily. Sorry, I'm looking at the scene like so. Sorry, going back to Mallrats real quick before I get to my point. What do you call it? With Mallrats, it is the first time we see Silent Bob with like the Batman ears as he's swinging on the rope, and you hear Jay shout, "Fly, fat ass, fly!" Before he crashes into the dressing room of his now ex-girlfriend,
Joey Lauren Adams, who also comes to Chasing Amy.
But yeah, so no, Holden in Chasing Amy, I feel like he was an absolute douchebag, because, like, you know, here you have a woman who is a lesbian, and he is trying to convince her that pretty much like she just hasn't met the right guy, and he doesn't really get it. Like, he doesn't really get it at all. He's pretty much like dictating to her like who and what she is throughout the movie. That's how I took it anyway. But then, like, he's so tone deaf on everything that he thinks that the way to fix all their problems, and like his co-creator of Bluntman Chronic, to fix everything, is to have a threesome. Pretty much treating his girlfriend that he supposedly loves so much as a like, I don't know, like a piece of his own puzzle to be played.
You know what? Let's break off here and follow this thread, because one of the common comments that you see on message boards, Facebook posts, Twitter, whatever the case may be, and we've talked about this at length off the air, but we see a lot of people talking about things like Clerks 3 or Jay and Silent Bob reboot and basically denouncing their fandom or saying they will never watch these movies because they're quote too woke now.
Yeah, that's getting old, man. Like, I mean, not you. Just that's not. I'm not saying that towards you. I'm just saying, like in general, like you can be accepting of people. Like I get it. Times are vastly different, and in this digital age, more things are being brought to light, and more people are saying that more people are seeing that they're not alone in how they feel. You know, but and that's what I was saying. Like Kevin Smith being a humanitarian, you know, which I would say is largely his sensitive nature towards events. I would say is largely due to Harley Quinn Smith, his daughter.
But we can look
But
at Chasing Amy and see the influence, right, of his. Um, I'm not even sure what the
yeah,
word is because I don't like political terms to describe how people feel about certain subjects. But this is a movie about a guy that falls in love with a lesbian, and she kind of comes to the realization, and she even says, um, "Why should she cut out half of the population?" You know, and the thing is, while some of the things that happened in the movie might be considered a little insensitive today, well, hell, very insensitive. I think, especially when it comes to Chasing Amy, it definitely has the foundations of what we'll see later in the later movies. When you hear Banky being so offensive with his blunt terms and uh, crass language. The thing is, when he does go there, when he does talk like that, mid '90s frat boy, there's always somebody there to correct him. There's always somebody sit there to say, "Hey, man, that's not cool." And I think the biggest telltale sign of, I guess, if people are going to call it woke, then fine, whatever. But the biggest sign of this could be the fact that she is the only person in this movie that is a functioning adult.
I absolutely agree with you on that one.
She's the only one that's self aware. She's the only one that's come to grips with who she is. And it's not until these outlying influences come into her life that screw things up.
Yep. Yeah, she was very content with her life the way it was. She too is a successful comic book artist and creator. Very independent, does not need anyone. She takes care of herself very well. Um, and the thing is that Holden, played by Ben Affleck in the movie, was successful. Like they had Blunt Man and Chronic, they were successful with their comic book. He and his Jason Lee's character, they were both very successful. Banky, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so he and Banky were both very successful in the with the comic book, but at the same time, Banky is very open about who he is as being selfish. I think he was supposed to be like the antagonist in the movie. And I don't look at it, and honestly, like out of the two of them, I would look at Holden as more the antagonist, and I would see what do you call it? Oh God, what was the character's name?
There were a few characters in there.
No, I mean like the lead actress. God,
Alyssa?
I'm fried. Alyssa. Okay. like Alyssa in the movie. I would look at her as the actual protagonist. She's the one that had the problem. She had to all of a sudden struggle with her own identity once he came into play and started kind of messing things up a little bit for her. Like, I mean, and she was doing it openly. She was questioning herself throughout the movie, but then she realized that she was at her core, like she was fine with the way she was, and that she didn't need someone that wanted to, I guess, treat her the way that he repeatedly treated her numerous times throughout the movie. But at the same time, like, this is also back in the 90s where the protagonist, who I know factually to be Holden, much like the lead in Mallrats, they're very selfish people, and they kind of remain that way throughout the whole movie. There's really not much of a, I don't know,
arc.
Yeah, there's really not much of an arc between Holden or the other Jason from Mallrats. There's really not much of an arc for those characters back then. Even like Dante, there wasn't much of an arc in the original Clerks. There wasn't really much of a payoff for the protagonist, I guess, if that makes sense. So I look at the other supporting characters as being the actual protagonists that have the problems that they have to solve. And the protagonists in his movies, and the earlier ones, I would say, are more the antagonists, because they're the ones that are kind of they're their own antagonist protagonists, if that makes sense. They're getting in their own way. She was a hero of, and it's only because of the fact that she had a problem and she's the one that solved it. She realized her self-worth and she moved on. The only redemption we see of Ben Affleck's Holden in that movie is he creates a comic book based off of the story that Silent Bob told him in the diner called Chasing Amy. And it was just like a one-off comic book, and he made it for her, like a limited run. But this whole woke thing that we're talking about, and you and I have had private conversations about this.
Yeah.
My views on things. I am very much not a politically correct person. But you can be politically correct and still have respect for other people and their views and everything else. Now, you don't have to go on Facebook and attack people or bash people and leave a laugh react if they say something, knowing full well you're not laughing.
Mm-hmm.
People that do that just don't have any thoughts of their own. They don't know how they feel about it, so that's the best way they can express themselves. Kevin Smith has not gone woke, as I like to put it. I don't think he's gone woke at all. Like, I think Kevin Smith, he has done what writers should do. And we've discussed this on the show multiple times. Comedy ages like milk. Now, I apologize to anyone this offends me using this term, but I am going to quote this. In The Hangover, we meet Stu, and he's talking to his girlfriend, Melissa. Stu is a dentist. Melissa is a very controlling, soulless character. Like, she controls him. He's her puppets. He has to lie to this person to go on this bachelor party in Las Vegas with his lifelong best friends. Now, during this scene, the comedic point is where, and I remember seeing this in theaters and when it came out in 2009, where Bradley Cooper and let's just do the characters' names. When Phil shows up and Alan and whatever, the other guy's name that always gets lost in the two movies, they pull up outside in the background, and you hear Bradley Cooper. And again, I apologize for whoever this might offend, but I am quoting this movie. Bradley Cooper shouts, "Paging Dr. Faggots," and then he says, "Dr. Faggot" again. And then to add to the comedy, she was like, "Oh, I guess I should go." And Melissa, like his girlfriend, says, "I think that's a good idea, Dr. Faggot." I remember the theater cracking up, like rolling, when that came up. That would never make it in as a comedy standpoint in any film made today. There's too many things going on. Too many things have been brought to light. One of the useful things Facebook has ever done is actually brought things to light. The internet, as well, everything, it has actually brought quite a few things into public perspective and view. Most people can accept it. Some people still can't. Um, so with this being the case, Kevin Smith has used his platform to bring awareness to things. Now, I don't understand the pronoun situation. But I don't condemn it. Whatever makes someone feel more them or more comfortable in their own skin or in their own existence on this planet, do it. So long as you're not killing someone or raping somebody or doing something illegal, do it. I don't care. These very fans, Josh, I told you about this earlier. There's a picture. I don't know if you can pull this up or not, but there was a picture of of a monitor with Kevin Smith or somebody holding a phone over the monitor. They're filming Clerks 3, which I cannot wait to see this movie. There's a phone that someone's holding of a still shot of Dante and Randall from 1994 in the Quick Stop. On the monitor is a black and white still shot of Dante and Randall in the same positions, but now in their 50s, in the same place in the Quick Stop. On top of them, like on the top frame of the monitor, there is whoever, and the camera person, and their pronouns: he, him. Next to that is the assistant director, and his pronouns: they, them. Or I'm sorry, their pronouns. I'm working on it. But the thing is so all this goes down. In all the comments on Instagram of this picture, you have people actually saying is like people praising the pronouns, like inclusion, acceptance, and everything else, and you have people condemning them. Oh, go woke and go broke. Like, I'm like, what? Like that? Like that's such and such name. So it's not actually they them. It's just one person, and it's like a man or woman. Like, oh, well, really? You can't just get excited over Clerks 3 being made as a fan of his and say you're going to break down a person's identity. For what reason? Like, I honest to God, like, I actually applaud Kevin Smith in in spite of my lack of understanding of that issue or that like community. I applaud his inclusion to make people happier and feel more invited and welcome onto that set. I think that's a beautiful thing. You don't have to be hateful over that. I think Kevin Smith, the world isn't so much woke as it is people are trying to be more accepting, more compassionate. You don't have to agree with someone's lifestyle. You don't have to support it, but you should respect it. And then in other standpoints, Josh, I mean, it's like He-Man. You, God, you want to cover that topic? Because I've rambled long enough about that.
No, because I haven't watched it, so I can't come at it from a learned perspective.
You still have not watched Masters of the Universe.
I have no intent on watching it.
Dude, I was not a He-Man fan as a kid. I may have watched He-Man, but I obviously wasn't much of a fan because I can tell you thoroughly about episodes of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and the Real Ghostbusters and even Transformers, Mask, Centurions. I can tell you about episodes of those that I watched when I was a kid. Alf, for Christ's sake. I cannot tell you a full recount of a single episode of He-Man, and I watched it religiously. But with Masters of the Universe, we finally got something more than just He-Man and Skeletor fighting back and forth. We got an original story that did not include those two, set in the same kingdom. And I think it was actually badass. And I'm not even one of these quote unquote, I guess, woke people. I just try to be respectful. But I thought it was a great story.
Nah, I canceled Netflix, remember?
Then use my God. I'll just send you a login to my account. I thought I gave you the login for my Netflix.
No.
Pretty sure I did. I'll do it again.
You didn't, but that's neither here nor there. We're talking about Kevin Smith. Now, I want to ask you a question, just circling back to Chasing Amy.
Yeah.
It's there's a term out there that gets brought up a lot, like this movie would never get made today, or this would never fly. That you used to just a few moments ago to describe a couple of lines of dialogue in The Hangover.
Yeah.
Does Chasing Amy in your opinion, fall under this would not get made today, or does it stand the test of time for being sensitive enough to handle the subject matter that it is?
Well, I mean, see, that's actually, it's a good question. It's a tough question. Again, my views, the female lead is the hero of that story. But even if those weren't my views, she still has a sense of self-worth, but she starts to question it once Holden comes into her life. Well, not self-worth, I should say, so she knows her identity. She knows who and what she is as a human being deep down to her core.
But
and that is
shows up,
she gets rattled. Yes, it gets rattled. And she even tries to educate him about, penetration, like what constitutes sex. Oh, when you when you broke your hymen, well, I broke my hymen falling off a fence post. Does that mean I've been a virgin since I was X years old? Like,
I think
it could if it was told a little bit more delicately.
Well, I would imagine they would actually, if it were to be made today, it would be done from her perspective.
Yeah, and honestly, I will say I prefer to see a re-release or an update on Chasing Amy as opposed to ever watch He's All That right now, which is on Netflix. I'd rather watch anything else other than that. So,
well, fortunately, we did get kind of caught up with characters during the Jay and Silent Bob reboot.
Yep.
But
I think things like that
that's for a little further down the line.
Yeah, but it's like I think that but like the thing is if there's any question as to the longevity of his storytelling, Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back has so many moments of homophobia, but also so much guy love in it. And let's not forget the immortal George Carlin as a hitchhiker, giving them tips on how to, do their thing.
Did you say immortal?
Yeah, immortal.
Because my first thought was immoral.
No, immortal.
The rules of the road.
Yeah. Well, no, he had his moral fiber because he was still helping people out who gave him a ride.
But then you said immortal, and I'm like, but he's dead.
He is dead, but his legacy is not, and and he is a comedian who is revered by both sides of the political field,
and everyone claims him.
Yeah, no matter how much he hated the conservative mindset of things, he's revered by them. But either way,
it stems from a general loathing of politics.
Mm-hmm.
That's
it.
Not necessarily loathing it, because after all, he did seem to educate himself on a lot of things when it comes to that particular aspect of life. But I guess it didn't mean he actually liked it to learn about it. And in fact, probably liked it, or hate read about it. I hate this so much. I gotta read.
Well, more. Yeah, but I mean, mind you, George Carlin is like the one of my favorite quotes. He hated all politics. He hated everything political, and the way he said it best. Politicians, they don't want you to think for yourselves. They want you to be dumb enough to follow their commands, but smart enough to crank the engines. That's it. And that's paraphrasing. I forget what the quote was, but still. But no, like Jay and Silent Bob, with the getting ready to give like the security guard head, and the security guard's like, when you're done, say, "My, what a lovely tea party." Jay knocks him out.
Diedrich
Silent
Bader,
Bob looks up, huh?
the phenomenal Diedrich Bader.
Yes, yeah, and you may also know him as Batman in the Harley Quinn series. But no, it's like with that, like Jay knocking out Dietrich, and then Silent Bob looks up at him, and he's like, "What are you waiting for? Start sucking, bong!" Oh, you're really going to do it? And he walks away. Kevin Smith just shakes his head, no, and he's like, "No, okay," just like nods his head and walks away after him. But no, it's like I think that it could get made. But like you said, I think it would probably be wisest if you were to make that movie today, it would have to be told from her point of view. And Holden would be the antagonist there. Because ultimately she is the one that walked away. She was not the antagonist. I don't like Brody was definitely the antagonist there. There's no ifs, ands, or buts.
He was an antagonist.
Or I'm sorry, Banky. Banky was the antagonist. That's right.
That's the weird thing about that character, because he said the terrible things. He had the now especially outdated mentality, kinda, because while he used words that wouldn't fly in a polite society today, the general idea behind them, the thing that he would constantly say is, hey, I'm good with it, do you, I don't care. He was not bigoted.
No, he wasn't. Like the scene when they're in the gay club, the scene where they're in the gay bar, and he's looking around, he realizes he's in a gay bar. He sees like men kissing each other, women kissing each other, and then it's just like he realizes where he is, and then he just bows his head down, smiles, and starts really applauding. Like, I mean, there wasn't any hate for that community in that man. The hatred is the fact that he honestly, I will say this, he may have been meant to be the antagonist, but he was more like the voice of reason. Like, I mean, he was trying so hard to be the voice of reason in his own way. And all of his disdain towards her came from Holden's decisions. Like, it was nothing more than Holden screwing everything up and injecting that animosity in his best friend and confusing the hell out of what's her face, Lauren. So it's like the thing is like, so Ben Affleck's character in my mind was the bad guy, not intentionally. But he was, in fact, in my mind, the antagonist. Now, I don't know if that was Kevin Smith's intention, because usually, screenwriting and storytelling format usually cites that we introduce the protagonist first, and then the antagonist, and then how does everything go to hell?
Yeah, but he dropped out of film school, so he might have missed that part.
But so it's like, Mallrats, we had the lead actor. He was a protagonist. He was a hero, even though he was a shitty protagonist. And then you have the girl's daddy, who was the antagonist. But yeah, I think if it was told through Lauren Adams and everything else, like her character, I think it could get made. Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back was not a safe space film at all. There was, and this is of course in Kevin Smith's prime storytelling with those characters. This is the very first.
Hold on. Go ahead. I have to mention something.
That's okay. What's up?
Safe space. Commonly used phrase, especially when it comes to people using it to describe things or areas where one cannot say offensive things, correct?
I guess, yeah, I guess in the more misunderstood label of it, yes. So when I say safe space, what I mean is there were no holds barred in that movie.
Well, that
There
is
was like the movie was a flat out fuck your feelings kind of movie.
that's just want to put this out there for the audience. That is the definition of a safe space where you can say whatever you want without fear of reprisal because you're in a safe space.
But it's like, but the thing is, like, the term safe space gets used in different, like, different ways. Because
Yes, it
so
gets
it's
used
like,
incorrectly.
so it can be like someone saying like, oh well, you can't harm me because I'm in my safe space. Like, well, no, like you're going to be, just topic for another time, not related to the show. But there are videos of things like school functions in like colleges where there's a speaker and people are saying like, oh well, I am very sensitive to whatever. I can't take the clapping. Okay, well, then wave your hands if you agree with me. It's like, okay. Someone says something, it says, okay, I'm very sensitive to chatter, I need you guys to turn down the chatter. This should be a safe space for us. Like, that's what I'm saying, like safe spaces. Like, so when I use that term, that's what I mean. But Kevin Smith, like with that film, when I say there's no safe space, I mean if you are going to be offended, this is a film that's going to do it. It is a very offensive film, depending on what your views are and what your beliefs are. That could go for anything, of course, but it was a very vulgar, over the top film. It's just like, but you can kind of see where things started to well, I can't really say that, like, involved in that film, because then after Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, a few years later, Clerks 2 came out. And Clerks 2, damn. I'll say, if you're an animal rights activist, don't watch Clerks 2.
Or if you are triggered by racial slurs.
Oh, God.
Especially said by white men.
It's okay. He's taking it back. And I hope to God they touch on that in Clerks 3. I really do.
Did you take it back?
But then it's like, people are like bashing Clerks 3 already. Before it's even come out.
Before it's finished filming.
Huh?
It hasn't been finished filming.
No, I mean, I think it's close to being finished. But the thing is,
I think there's a week left. I'm not sure.
Yeah, but the thing is that it is told very closely from Kevin Smith's own personal experience again. But this time, it is shifted from being Dante, being stuck at this place, to being Randall, because in this one, Randall has had the same heart attack, the Widowmaker heart attack, and he has decided to start filming some of the stuff about his life, I guess. Which takes us back to like black and white kind of stuff, I guess. I'm not too sure about the specifics. I don't want to talk about it before I know anything about it. But I respect it. I respect Kevin Smith doing what he's doing. But I think people are more focused on things like yoga hosers. And people really got up in arms about yoga hosers, and they got up in arms about the Jay and Silent Bob reboot, saying the Jay and Silent Bob reboot was a woke film. I've watched it a few times. I own it. And I don't see a whole lot of, I guess, quote unquote, wokeness in that movie.
Multicultural cast.
I guess like a multicultural cast and everything else, and a bunch of girls are in it, and yada, yada, yada. Guys, it is about the transcendence of being a child and growing into a man, even if you're in your damn 40s, like the characters are in that movie. Jay and Silent Bob in the movie are pushing 50 years old, guys. So anyone listening to this at any point, because I know a few of my friends on Facebook do listen to the show after it's done. And I will say, first off, thank you for listening to the show. I do appreciate the support you guys give me. I appreciate the fact that Josh and I can crack you guys up. So for you guys listening to the show, I will say thank you. You guys make us want to keep doing this. Like, I mean, it's like we enjoy doing this anyway. But there are still some of you that enjoy our show that have even come to me and said that sometimes, like, they can tell, like, where I've kind of joined in with the quote unquote pussification of the United States. It's not that. LA has not changed me at all. It's called getting older and thinking for myself away from Facebook and YouTube. I didn't really
so hard.
Yeah. Like, I mean, I'm 38 years old. I'm turning 39 in a few short months here. Guys, we are on the precipice of being middle-aged ourselves, most of us. So we have to really start thinking about the future generations. Beating them down based on who they identify as is not the way to do it. And some of you that are Kevin Smith fans that I know personally that say that he has gone woke and have yet to really provide me any feasible examples. Let me share some examples I was given, Josh. Let's see. So like a Blunt Man v. Chronic. You have Melissa Benoit, who is famous for Supergirl, right?
Mm-hmm.
She played Chronic in the remake version. They didn't like that.
Chronic that is the joke.
Like, yes, it's a reboot. The whole movie is about reboot, guys. It's about reboots. They suck. They're horrible. Kevin Smith doesn't really care for reboots either. It's hard to find a good reboot. It happens once in a while with Scarface. Okay, it does happen. A Star is Born was a decent remake. But the thing is it wasn't really a woke film. Like, guys, he was sucking Jay had a rolled up silent Bob, and the part that you put in your mouth when you light everything up is a dick. It's not woke. What is it because Silent Bob is a vegan now? I mean, Kevin Smith is in fact a vegan now. The joke is Silent Bob has lost weight since he went and I quote all vegan and shit.
But not
these
for
guys are getting
reasons. Older. Just point that out.
But the whole thing is that the movie is about Jay and Silent. The movie is more about Jay coming to terms with the fact that he is a father, and he's disconnected from the youth, and he starts learning about it. Both of them do, but it's not woke. I mean, there's a joke about Jay being like a 2-pump chump. Like, and Silent Bob's reaction to that when Rosario Dawson says that is priceless, because it's classic Silent Bob where he's laughing hysterically, but nothing is coming out. But
to put it on the other side, to flip it around a little bit, for the people that are saying Kevin Smith turned woke, allow me to point out that, as I said in Chasing Amy, the only actualized adult, the only self-aware person in the movie was Alyssa Jones, the lesbian. Let's point out in Mallrats that, again, the only people to act their age were the women.
Yep.
Same with Clerks. The only ones that weren't like, oh, woe is me, what do I do, were the women.
Yeah, that's a hell of a good point. I honestly, I didn't think about that in regards to the whole, Kevin Smith went woke now. Women are the strong characters in all of his stories. You're absolutely right about that. And Dogma, the protagonist, the woman, she's very strong. She's strong. For Christ, God is a woman in that movie.
Mm-hmm.
Technically, no. God is just a very, relieved entity.
God is Alanis Morissette.
But it's and in Clerks too, and you have to admire Kevin Smith's attention to detail and continuity with his universe. And Clerks too, when Jan, Silent Bob are approached by those guys outside of the movies, And the guy's like, is that a fucking Bible? And he's like, he says, it's the holy fucking Bible. And like, no, is it Clerks? I'm sorry, no, it's not Clerks 2. It's Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. When he says handed down by God herself. When he's talking about
Yeah.
The time. So
God.
Like he's hinted numerous times that he is very much pro-woman. Guys, if you are just now figuring that out, you've never been Kevin Smith fans. There is very seldom, a weak woman in any of his films. You know, I mean, it's like, and if it makes you guys feel any better, you're saying the Jay and Silent Bob reboot is a woke film. If it makes you feel any better, all you guys out there that, feminism is toxic and poison. If it makes you feel any better, the antagonist of that entire movie was a woman. The big bad of that movie was the Chinese girl that was actually really a Russian spy.
That doesn't seem very PC to me.
Yeah. Like, I mean, come on, we have an Asian character with a Russian accent, ready to blow up everything. Kevin Smith has even made fun of himself by adding lines like, from Harley Quinn Smith in like the Jay and Silent Bob reboot of he gets his daughter to be in all of his movies. Like, I mean, forces his daughter to be in all of his movies. Like, and they even make fun of him by calling him Kevin James a few times. Like, he makes fun of himself so much. I don't think he's woke so much as he is self-aware. Like, Kevin Smith as a writer is who I aspire to be as a writer, because you know what? You have to adapt with the times. You have to tell fresh stories. And yeah, his stories are like, contingent on recurring roles and characters and actions that have been in past films. But guys, Jay and Silent Bob were still the horny, like we're still like, well, I'm sorry, Jay was still the horny asshole that he was in every other movie. But now he is growing up because he found out he's a father. So now he's trying to be there for his kid. And then the movie ended with Jay showing his daughter how to loiter outside of a damn quick stop. I mean,
as it should be.
But I am curious about Clerks 3. One thing I'm curious about is Randall was wanted in the opening scene of the Jay and Silent Bob reboot. He was standing there eating popcorn, watching the fire and everything else, with a big old beard and everything. So I'm curious if that's going to be brought up or mentioned in Clerks 3.
Well, I imagine it'll go something like this. Hey, Randall, did you ever get that thing taken care of? Yeah, we're not going to talk about that. Okay.
But this is like, and one of my friends even said Clerks 2 was too woke. I'm like, Clerks 2 was woke to you? Which part? Where he's making fun of a handicapped guy? When he's making the comparison to, what do you call it? Anne Frank and, what's her face? Helen Keller? Huh? Pillow Pants, the pussy troll? The racial tirade that he went off on? Like, talking about what is an actual, racial slur? I don't know. Like, hobbits being gay?
Interspecies erotica?
Yeah. And let's talk about that scene, man. That scene where, like,
Kinky Kelly?
Kinky Kelly was a donkey. The guy was a sexy stud. So when the sexy stud spit on his hand, and you get that stream of spit before he, quote unquote, cornholes that ass.
I think the thing that makes that scene is just the reactions from everybody.
What makes that scene is Elias in the corner going at it with himself saying, "I'm sorry, Jesus."
Rosario comes in, and you expect like disgust, and she was like, "Whoa, okay, I don't know what I'm looking at, but I can't stop."
And then the jail cell scene, guys. Someone else I know actually said something about how that was like just like such a like the dumbest scene in the world. I'm like, that scene is where a character that is known to be emotionally closed off announces how much he loves his best friend and how scared he is of his best friend leaving and what life is going to be like without his best friend. I thought that was a beautiful scene. My best friend lives in Florida with his wife and 5-6 kids now. I rarely ever see him. The scariest thing I ever did was move away from him.
Wait, you do realize I'm divorced now, right?
Okay, you're my second best friend. The thing is still, like, the hardest thing you can do is realize that times have to change.
Yeah.
But it's even scarier to realize that the place that you may not want to be in may very well be the best place for you to be and might be the place that actually completes you.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they hated the quick stop so much in the first movie. Well, I'm sorry, Dante has always hated the quick stop. Randall has always loved it. He's relished in it.
Because he
Guys,
gets to do what he wants and talk crap to the customers.
Yeah, and hang out with his best friend.
And hang out with his best friend.
Like, honestly, can you think of a better way to survive and make ends meet?
Like
you're not rich.
Gonna get by. You might as well be doing something that'll make you happy.
And that's it. Like, so I mean, so that being the case, like, Randall had, like, Clerks too had, like, it had a message to it, man. And it opened my eyes to a few things. Unfortunately, that's just not an option for someone like me. But it is a great sentiment. And it's something that definitely has to be, thank you. So that has to be taken into consideration, like, as a message. Randall Graves says, like, he hates everybody and everything sucks. Who would want to have him as a friend? Yeah, and he even told, like, Jay and Silent Bob to cover their ears, and then he told his best friend how much he loved him. To which, they were making fun of him.
Mm-hmm. Of course,
called him gay. Like, I mean, there wasn't really a whole lot woke about those movies, guys. Like, none of his movies are really woke. They're just be honest. It's not being woke. It's stories that you don't like. Like, just say that you don't understand the youth, or you don't understand the world as it is today, and you won't accept it. You'll be happier.
Let's make it a little simpler. Let's say, just admit you don't understand movies.
It's a fair point too. So, I mean, the thing is that Kevin Smith is not outwardly disrespectful of the gay community. He's not outwardly disrespectful of people in general. Chasing Amy, while it may not have aged well, it is one of those movies where it's just, I mean, it's something that he made. Like, something he was passionate about. He had something he wanted to say, so he said it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And he still has a large overflow of support from the gay community. And he's never even apologized for that movie. He has nothing to be sorry for. So while people are, like, all about this cancel culture, which I do think is a real thing, because people will go back and try to ruin people's careers if they disagree with something they say on the internet, even if it's, like, not a bad thing.
Real thing.
Huh?
I said, I don't think cancel culture is a real thing,
but
buttholes exist in all walks of life.
Yes. But the thing is that what I was going to get at is, like, this is the fact that he still has the overflow of support that he has, and the amount of love that he gets, has me question my thoughts on cancel culture and how real it is. See if you let me finish. I was going to go there.
No.
But the thing is that Kevin Smith is the person that has me opening my eyes to a lot of things. So he may not be revered in the mainstream, entertainment industry in film, but he is revered amongst the independent filmmakers. He is someone that people absolutely love and adore. People may not like his films; they adore him. And I adore him for the sole fact that he is actually, I've grown up with his stuff. And he has actually opened my eyes to a few issues I saw in myself. So my thoughts on things are a little different, largely due to Kevin Smith. So his films aren't really what I would call woke. Some are not that great. I mean, come on, Yoga Hosers was actually pretty hard for me to sit through.
You just hate Ralph Garman. That's not.
I honestly, it just wasn't. And I'm just going to just wasn't for me, dog.
I enjoyed it for what it was, a PG-13 horror comedy that I could watch with my teen kids.
Yeah. Well, I mean, girls were very much definitely the demographic for that film. I just didn't really care for it. But it's again, I'm not the demographic. But Zach and Miri make a porno, guys. That was not remotely woke.
No.
I mean, come on. Justin Long and Brandon Ralph, for Christ's sake. Because it was shortly after Superman Returns came out that movie came out, and we all got to see Superman and hear about how Justin Long just loves sucking his dick. Kevin, if you hear this episode at any point, and me and Josh are going off on little tirades about things about society, understand you are a large part of how we think of the world today. So, but with Clerks 3, it's coming out, and it's featuring all the cast from the main cast members from Clerks 2.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very much looking forward to Elias.
Yeah.
And seeing how that evolves.
This will be the 4th Clerks thing?
I mean, if you count the cartoon, I think, yeah.
Of course I count the cartoon. You're a cigarette.
Yeah, right. I am sad that cartoon never picked up momentum into other seasons.
Well, it only aired 2 episodes out of order.
Well, weren't the episodes little tidbits here and there?
What do you mean?
Well, weren't there more than just 2 episodes?
Yeah, there were 6 total.
Okay, I was going to say, because I remember having I have the I was going to say I have the DVD box set, the DVDs of it. So I mean, you said 2 episodes, and I was thinking that's right, aired 2 episodes.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And it's a damn shame that it didn't go longer. And like I said, they aired the episodes out of order. And if anything, by the way, if you have not watched Clerks the animated series, I urge each and every one of you to do so. You can find it on Amazon Prime for $5-6. It's maybe 10. I don't know. I bought it a while back. It's worth the time sink just for 6 little 23-24 minute episodes about the guys in a convenience store. Now, here's the thing. The major takeaway that I got after watching them again not too long ago, as a matter of fact, was that this cartoon was way ahead of its time.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
What we take for granted today, as far as content that you can find in a cartoon, is for being a little more mature, not gaudy, not nasty, and certainly not what's the word, profane.
Yeah, it was vulgar, but it was vulgar within television standards.
Yes, it very much kept within its TV rating, but and no, it didn't really cover any deep issues. The thing to remember is that in the year 2000, this was right around Family Guy, right?
Yeah, around that, yes. And I didn't even know of it in 2000. I did not know it existed. My fiance Judy, she knew how big of a fan I was of Kevin Smith. I loved all of his films at that point. Like I had them all at the time on VHS. Um, and she saw a copy of it in a movie store in a mall in New Jersey, and she brings it home. I had no idea that even existed. And I didn't even think about the lack of foul language that's riddled throughout all of his movies. I loved it.
Instead of selling drugs, Jay and Silent Bob sold fireworks. Talked about the kid in the helmet, Walt Flanagan's dog.
God. There was so much. I need to go back and watch the series now.
Is it safe?
Yeah, is it safe?
Why is what safe?
Is it safe? Who's speaking? Is it safe?
and the cast that was brought together for that thing, Brian O'Halloran and Jeff Anderson, of course, reprised their roles as Dante and Randall, respectively. Jason Mewes as Jay, Kevin Smith as Silent Bob, giving the safety message at the end of the episode, much like they did in the 80s.
Alec Baldwin.
Alec Baldwin is Leonardo.
Like, you got Alec Baldwin to be a voice of a character in a cartoon series. Like, holy shit. And he owned it.
Well played.
Like, he was the Mr. For those of you that have never seen this, he was a tycoon, a multi-billionaire. He was the Mr. Burns to this show.
Mm-hmm.
And he was conniving, he was evil, but he was playful too. In his own dark, twisted way, he was very playful.
Case in point, Randall says, "Is this some sort of sex thing?" No. Are you sure? Yes.
But guys, just face it, okay? Kevin Smith is someone who is a voice for not just a community. He's a voice for growing up. He's a voice for evolving. His work has spanned nearly 3 decades now. And what he's offered the world is something I think should be very much celebrated because it does bring to light a lot of issues. And even without bringing up certain issues, who knew that Kevin Smith could have a fan base just as toxic as Star Wars?
Yeah.
As Marvel.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I mean, they're movies, guys. Well, I sure as hell won't be seeing it. I'm sure Kevin Smith is hurt.
This is the
Guys.
guy that cries over everything.
This is the guy that protested his own movie with the protesters when Dogma came out. He was hanging out with the protesters. They didn't even know who he was.
Call himself what do you call himself? Scott Mosier.
I think so, yeah.
Got interviewed. Have you seen it? No, I haven't seen it, but I heard it's bad.
But it's just like, it's one of those deals, like, I don't think you're going to hurt his feelings. Because his actual fans that respect him will see his stuff and celebrate it as passionately as we all have with any of his other projects. Clerks 3 may not be for you, but then again, who's to say Clerks 3 is not going to be like the divine sequel to Clerks 2? That Clerks 2 was the Clerks. Randall is not, like, Randall may have had to have calmed down because of his heart attack. Granted. But a personality is a personality. And Randall's personality has pretty much been solid throughout all the movies.
He's abrasive. That's his thing.
Yeah, he's abrasive. He's very witty. He's got those quips. Like, I mean, Christ, he's always been like that character that had all those cool lines. Like, I mean, Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. Yeah, so I heard you guys got married at such and such church, and had the Star Wars wedding, and you're the bitch and you're the butch. I'm the bitch? Well, yeah, if we were gay, that's how I'd see it. It's like I'm the Randall to me and Josh.
You're the Randall?
Yeah, you sure as hell aren't. But you're now like the self-loathing Dante.
Then what the hell am I?
You might be the new Dante who now has, at this point, let's see, Clerks 2 came out in 2006. Becky was pregnant then, so they now have like a 14-year-old child.
I have one of those.
There we go. See? Dante.
Oh, I'm not even supposed to be here today.
So, Christ, even my picture for the WADcast that people see whenever I speak is a picture of me kind of working but passed out.
Oh my God, I see it. With us side by side, I see it. I hate it, but I see it. No offense, Brian Holleran. I'm the one that's keeping this together, and you're the one that's keeping me together. Does this mean I get a Rosario Dawson soon?
Let's hope. You deserve one. Josh is single, ladies. And in a few moments here, he's going to tell you where you can find him.
In my bedroom. Because I'll be sleeping. I have a 9 a.m. Call time.
But either way, to wrap up my end of everything for tonight, I will say that Kevin Smith, I greatly appreciate everything that you've made. Even things that I may not have personally cared for. I do appreciate everything you've done for not just bringing voices to certain areas of the world, but also showing that it's okay to grow up as a filmmaker. It's okay to grow and start taking into account to things that you didn't think about before. I mean, Jay and Silent Bob Reboot actually touched on a few things with Jay. And I honestly, I thought it was absolutely like the way you write some of these characters that in the past have only been known to be pretty much like assholes, to show how much heart these characters actually have is brilliant to me.
You know, let's go back to Chasing Amy, not the movie, but the characters.
I was going to say again.
Holden. We catch up with Holden in the reboot.
Yes, we do. That's right. Would you like to say that quote that he was talking about with the with realizing that the kid is now the center?
No, because I don't remember it. Do you remember the quote?
Let me pull it up real quick.
I could have done that.
Well, I'm using my phone. You have a computer.
Yeah, I probably could have done it much easier.
Yeah. If I do it, I'm going to flip to a different tab on my phone, and I'll get booted from the show. That's why I always get booted from the shows, because I'm trying to look up other things on other tabs on my phone.
Holden quotes Jay and Silent Bob reboot. I used to think life was all about me. I was the hero of my own story, a Bruce Wayne of one lifelong issue of Detective Comics, so to speak. And then that kid came along, and suddenly you realize you're not Bruce Wayne anymore. You're Thomas Wayne.
Yep. But that's it. Like, I mean,
you know what? On a personal note, I had that very epiphany today, as I realized that my oldest, daydreams, and
she what?
My oldest daydreams, and
daydreams. Oh, okay. I thought you said your oldest day drinks. I'm like, what? Whoa!
Well, it's Florida.
Oh, Jacksonville. Oh, I miss you.
But it's getting.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
It realizing that since my oldest is in high school now, that I am not the center of my kids' universe anymore. They dream of adventures and fantastic voyages where, yeah, I'm still a passenger involved in their zaniness, but I'm no longer the captain of their own adventures, right? They're coming to the age where they're putting themselves as the hero to their own story.
Yeah.
And well, that's basically like a literal explanation of how it happened, when Oldest just telling me about a story that they want to write, and how they are the main character, and Dad's just an ancillary character now, shows up briefly. It's like, I'm happy and honored to still be at least a part of the story.
Yeah.
But it's weird when you realize that one of your kids, at the very least one of them, doesn't see you as the infallible superhero that is Dad, but just as this guy that loves me very much and buys me stuff.
Yeah, but if it means anything at all, like, I mean, like, I know that there's things that concern you on a daily basis. You and I have our conversations, which is no one else's business. But if there's anything I can say about you, is as you being a single father of the kids, those kids absolutely adore you on such like hold you on such a high level. And so that being the case, like, it actually, even that reminds me of the relationship that Kevin Smith has with Harley Quinn Smith, because she is his biggest cheerleader, basically. Like, they're like they listen despite how much he messes with her and pisses her off, and it's been very publicly pointed out, like the things he's done to mess with her, like showing up stoned as shit to meet her boyfriend and sharing the story.
You mean just showing up?
Well, he was going to, I guess, meet her boyfriend or whatever, and made him drive them back home. whatever the deal was, and tells him, oh no, it makes Harley Quinn I think drive, and tells him not to smoke pot. But then he shares a story on a late night TV show, and then asks Jason Mewes to bring up the text that Harley Quinn sent him before the show, and the text was, "Don't let my dad tell a story about me to my boyfriend." But even with him doing that, like, that girl absolutely adores her father, and you know that he absolutely adores his daughter. So all these people that are talking smack, I know a few of you that have no relationship with your kids. Can I, real quick? Well, I can. Go ahead. Sorry about that. But the thing is like a few of you guys that are bashing him very harshly. A few of you I know don't really have the best relationship with your kids. May just like go ahead and say, perhaps you should just like ask him what he's doing and take some notes.
And if you're gonna bash the guy, by the way, talk trash about his movies specifically, because there's some of them that unfortunately he would joke around with you and say, "Oh yeah, it's probably not great," blah blah blah. But the personal attacks based on his viewpoints, that's an entirely different animal. And
yeah, like, I mean, come on,
you're just being a jerk.
Exactly. I mean, it's like you don't have to be a fan of the guy. That's fine. Like, no one's going to care if you're a fan of his or not. Like him, hate him for his films. That's cool. Don't like his movies. Still hate his movies. I don't give a shit. I don't think he cares either. But the thing is he is doing what he wants to do. He's doing exactly what he wants to do. He's crushing it at life. He survived things that chances are you guys would not survive. He is here through a miracle of survival and has done nothing but improve himself since with a newfound sense on life and mortality. Like, maybe just, again, reach out to him. Ask him what he's doing right. I would love to have this. I would love to have Kevin on this show and just pick his brain about life, because I feel like there's so much that we could learn about everything by talking with him. So yeah, bash his movies. That's fine. Oh, Dogma sucked. Okay, well, it wasn't for you. Oh, I hated Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. It was so stupid, mindless comedy. I've heard that. Okay, great. Well, I mean, at least there's reasons why you don't like those movies. Okay.
Just please don't tell me Batman vs Superman is the greatest movie of all time.
Yeah, Tyler Applegate, if you're listening to this ever. God, enough of the DCEU. This shit sucks.
But you know what? I'm going to go ahead and make this official. If anybody's listening out there and you want to tweet at Kevin Smith and say, "Hey, these guys go live every Friday night at 10 p.m. Eastern," tweet at him, tweet at us, let him know that we want him on the show. And he doesn't have to be our guru of life, but if he wants to come and just hang out, talk about stuff.
Yep.
I've mentioned this before, because we have guests on from time to time that work. The whole point is talking to people that work in the industry, no matter what their position is or what their level in the industry is. We've had a lot of varying degrees of people in here as far as guests go, and the thing is, I've said this off the air. Kevin Smith as a guest might be difficult in a very strange way. Not because there wouldn't be anything to talk about, because God knows the man's done so much.
Oh yeah, we could get him talking for hours.
The real issue would be trying to find new ground. talk about things that haven't been talked about before when it comes to his career. So what I'm saying is, if we do, get Kevin Smith booked to appear on the WADcast, I think it would be more of a, how do you find your inner, I don't want to say find your inner peace. That sounds so cliche, but just more about life than actual, hey, here's everything that you've done and we're going to parrot it back to you. I would hope it would be less work related and more fan, no, bad words. We'll talk more about passions. There we go. The things that make each one of us passionate about movies and life in general. Whether it's comic books, parenting, or, sweet 90s alt rock, whatever the case may be. Because
sweet 90s
honestly,
alt rock, Nickelback.
I said 90s.
They were late 90s.
Lies. But the point is, there are so many other avenues to hear Kevin Smith talk about his career. And if he came on the show, that's I don't think that's ground we need to cover. I'd rather know more about the dude than the the director.
Yeah.
I have no questions about cameras at all.
Yeah.
Fine. Nickelback started in '95.
Told you.
But they didn't get famous until 2001.
I know. But they've been around since the 90s. That was my point.
Green Day's been around since '88. So are they considered an '80s band?
Technically, yeah, but 80s punk. Excuse me.
Well, we sent out our Evite to Kevin Smith, and we are going to be talking more about this guy in the future. We didn't even talk about the non-Askewniverse movies and the impact that they made, or using Twitter to hashtag your way into writing a movie about a guy getting turned into a walrus.
Yeah.
We didn't even get to talk about how Kevin Smith, and I don't think I'm understating this or overstating this, revolutionized fan interaction.
Yep.
So
yeah, because I mean, like, you've had things that you posted on Twitter that he's liked. I posted things on Twitter that he's liked. I mean,
so there's so much more to one box. Consider this a part one when we're talking about the Kevin Smith effect.
Yeah.
I might even update the title accordingly. That doesn't mean we're going to talk about Kevin Smith again next week, because who knows, something might come up that really might need to be talked about. But in the meantime, what I'm going to ask everybody to do is pay attention as Brandon tells you how you can reach him on the interwebs.
Yes, you can reach me at Twitter now that I have my Twitter back up. I changed it at bjacksman82. You can reach me on Instagram, same thing, bjacksman82. You can also find us on Instagram for the WADcast at instagram.com/the WADcast. As always, you'll know our page because we have a black picture there with a white banner that says WADcast in it. I need to start really working on keeping that up to date. Bear with me, I've been working a lot outside of this show, so I don't really have a whole lot of time to really update things. But I'm going to try to start working on doing that and being a little bit more responsible with that. We are going to start doing our our what do you call it, our cold reads again soon, hopefully. We've talked about this, but so I'm going to start asking people if you would like to have your script read on like read for a cold read. No one's going to use it. If you want to copyright it, that's fine. But if you just want to write like a quick little BS script, just something funny or whatever, like 2 characters, no more than that, in a singular interaction, we'll read it. Me and Josh will read it, and there we go. We'll give you credit for it. We'll talk about you, and maybe even in the show in the future, we'll have you on the show to discuss your script and what makes you tick as a writer. But that's where you can find me on there. You can also find us on Facebook, facebook.com/the WADcast. And you can even find me on Facebook, Brandon Junk. I don't know what my profile picture is right now. I tend to get bored with them pretty easily. But I'm on there, though. So look up Brandon Junk, and I'll be on there somewhere. I think it's a picture of me and my dog for right now. But yeah, that's all I got. Josh, what about you?
Well, as always, you can find me on Twitter at SkidComic or at WADcastPod or at Simbicore Studios. I say at Simbicore Studios because that is the, how you say, thing that I do all the podcasts on. Yeah, check it out. Give it a like. That way you can know what's going on as far as, what's going down with things like the WADcast or Josh's World. Look forward to hearing your feedback. Leave comments below on the Facebook page. That way we can see that you have comments, I guess. You know what? I got up at 3 a.m. this morning. It is pushing midnight.
It sounds like it's time for Joshua to go Mimi's.
I think I'm reacting a little slowly at the moment.
It sounds like it. You're talking slower too.
So let me get this out of the way. Facebook, Twitter, give it a follow. Patreon, that's a thing. If you want to throw in a couple of ducats to the coffers, by all means, feel free. But if you want to get something in return for those ducats, go on to the merch shop. That's right. There's a merchandise area where you can get, guess what? WADcast t-shirts and other paraphernalia, and as well as Simbicore Studios and everything else. I like the designs of the shirts very much, as a matter of fact. And Brandon and I both sport them on a regular basis. So if you want to be a part of the cool kids, then do what you want. That's what cool kids do.
But if you want to be one of us, buy our shit. Commercial.
You know what? I'm going to go ahead and check the store real quick, because if you are listening live, then no, it's not on sale right now. But every time it goes on sale, I will notify everybody and say, hey, our stuff's on sale, which you can also find on the Facebook pages. I'll make sure that information gets out there to you. I mean, after all, yeah, it's kind of a source of income for the show. But at the same time, I'm all about helping people find a deal. And if you want to buy one of our shirts, I'd rather you just be able to buy it when it's as cheap as possible, if that's what floats your boat. So I guess it's time for the final thoughts.
Yep.
Shazam. All right. Remember, boys and girls, the only thing standing between you and your dreams is you. If there's something you want to make, something you want to do, by all means, do it. Don't wait till tomorrow, because tomorrow's not guaranteed. Get the gumption and do it today. If Kevin Smith said, you know what, I'm going to wait until I am more financially stable to make a movie, he probably wouldn't have a career. If he said, I really don't want to sell my comics, he probably wouldn't have a career. If he hesitated, he probably wouldn't have a career. So think about this. Why are you hesitating? It's because of you. So get over yourself. Make your damn movie or your song or whatever it is you want to make. And do what you love. Because life's too short not to. Alrighty, everybody. This has been WADcast episode number 62. I hope everybody had a good time tonight. Join us back again next week, 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific, right here on the WADcast Facebook page. For Brandon, I'm Josh, and we will see you next week.
At the movies. Oh, yeah, next week.
No, that's a different.